How do you make visual effects look like the real thing? Well, for making the ice environment for The Last Airbender, we teamed up with Accenture Studios to simply bring home a piece of the Arctic in full 3D. Our work for Netflix on The Last Airbender quickly turned into a journey that not only challenged our creative vision, but also pushed our boundaries of how we approach visual effects today. The Last Airbender is an iconic and celebrated animated series, and we were thrilled to be part of the visual effects for Netflix live-action adaptation. The series lets you step into the world of the Southern Water Tribe, a stark Arctic landscape featuring vast glaciers and snowy mountains and oceans filled with icebergs. As our starting point, we were provided with concept art, digital environment for Unreal Engine that was used during virtual production show. This was the perfect foundation and served as a blueprint for us for the upcoming work. Our mission was to detail and expand on the world that had been captured during principal photography. Arctic's environments are infinitely complex with mountains and snowy icebergs and all kinds of natural organic shapes that can take a long time for a 3D artist to recreate by hand. But what if we found these locations for real and captured everything we needed in 3D?
Since we specialize in documentary 3D and in reality capture, we've wanted to work with Nicholas and the team at ILP for years. Using photogrammetry and 360-degree photography, we can go out and capture real environments as they appear in the real world and just bring them back on memory cards. So when Nicholas called on us to capture icebergs and glaciers, which are traditionally the hardest thing to capture this way, we had to say yes, challenge accepted. Though perhaps most important of all, he wanted us to locate the actual location to represent the village, where most of the story happens, and capture that whole landscape around the village in full.
We used maps and satellite data to try to find a real-world location that could be our fictional village. It took a lot of twisting and turning of maps with our team, but then we found it. Deep inside a fjord on the western side of Svalbard, it was perfect. It was our village.
We've captured things all over the world, but Svalbard is about as remote as it gets. These ragged islands are literally the last pieces of dry land before you hit the ice of the Arctic. Actually, it's also dangerous territory for a film crew, as you always need a polar bear guard with you. But Svalbard still hits that sweet spot of many great things in the same place. You have massive glaciers, you have fjords filled with icebergs, and epic mountain backdrops. We split up our workflow between capturing gigapixel resolution 360 images on one hand to use as backdrops, and a drone photogrammetry workflow to capture 3D assets of the icebergs and glaciers.
The village was the centerpiece of our environment work, featured in hundreds of visual effects shots. We crafted village props and populated the village to make it seem more alive. Many scenes takes place in the village surrounding, where we could use the 3D scanned environment from the actual location in Svalbard. We further dressed the environment with the remains of the old destroyed village, but essentially you're looking at a real location that exists in the real world.
For large terrain areas like this, we prioritize area over resolution, and that's how we can bring back a 3D model that covers several square kilometers. This has me very excited, as we've essentially preserved a piece of Svalbard's natural heritage in The Last Airbender.
One of the most challenging sequences was the two main characters went out on a fishing trip, but ended up stumbling upon the trapped protagonist. It featured a fully digital environment with only green screen elements of our actors. And one of the main purposes of our Svalbard expedition was to capture the assets needed to construct this part of the world. In order to get the best reference possible for our artists, we did a technical visualization of the canoe sequence, and we shot reference videos on location using drones and replicating the camera angles in the height and speed. This acted as the ultimate reference for our look development team as they worked on materials and shaders. From the initial sketches to the final composites, every step was guided by our desire to tell a compelling story. Whether it was the subtle shading of snow or the reflection of light on ice, every single element was crafted to enhance the narrative. This project transcends technology, focusing on incredible visuals and storytelling. It has involved over 180 talented artists and support staff at ILP, the Ivar Studios team, and of course the crew on Svalbard expedition. And many more were heavily involved and invested in honoring the legacy of this fantastic franchise.